Hello, everybody. Welcome to our next session here. And I'm really, really excited about this session. I'm going to have a great talk on what it is to be a Python core developer. And giving the speech is my friend here, Mariatta Wijaya.
Wijaya.
See, I got it wrong.
Mariatta.
All right, it's Mariatta. And we won't be having any Q&A afterwards, but I'm sure Mariatta would be happy to talk with you during the rest of the conference if you find her somewhere. She'll be around. So, without further ado, Mariatta.
Thank you. Is this working? All right. Hi. Welcome to my talk. So before I introduce more about myself, I'd like to first introduce all of you here. We'll all be here in the same room for like 45 minutes, so I think it's good that we all know each other more. So I'm pretty sure everyone in this room use Python, right? You have written at least hello world with Python. Yes? You use F strings? Yay! And you're all here are members of the Python community. You're here at PyCon, meeting, interacting with other Pythonistas. You're all members of the community. And I believe many of you here do give back to the community by contributing to open source. Can I see how many people have at least made one pull request to any open source project? To see Python. There's a lot of you. There's a lot of you. That's great. That's awesome. So thank you so much for contributing to open source and to C Python. All right, who am I now? I am really busy. that's a summary of it. So my name is Mariatta, and you can find me on Twitter, GitHub. I'm a mom. I have two children, two sons, 7 and 5 years old. I moved to Canada a long time ago. So I now live in Vancouver. I work for Zapier. So first of all, I want to thank Zapier for completely supporting me, sending me here to speak at PyCon. All they ask is I wear the t-shirt, branding. So thank you, Zapier. We're hiring. So check us out tomorrow at the job fair. I'll be there too. And outside of my family and work, I help organize Vancouver PyLadies. And I help organize conference called PyCascades. So the next one will happen in Seattle sometime in 2019. And on top of all that, I do contribute to open source. So it's kind of a new thing for me. I've just really started doing that 2 years ago. I really feel a newbie when it comes to open source. But last year, somehow they granted me the commit right to C Python. So I can now call myself a Python core developer. And this talk is about this. Like, since I became a core developer, everybody has lots of questions. Like, what even is a Python core developer? Like, what is it like? How can they become a core developer? So, to save myself from answering all of that for future generations, I'm just going to answer all of that here in this talk. And I can point them to this video next time. And to help illustrate the journey, I'm going to borrow this diagram, which I saw at PyCaribbean last year. I saw this from Dr. Russell Keith McGee's keynote speech. He called this the open source conversion funnel. So he described it as follows, like there is a universe of people who could potentially use your project. Some of the potential users eventually find your project and start using your project. And some of the new users sticks around and becomes a regular user. Some of the regular users stick around and start participating in the community, becoming community members. Some of the community members start contributing to the project and become contributors. Some of the contributors stick around long enough and eventually becomes the core team, and some of the core teams becomes the leader of the community. I copied Russell Keith McGee, and he talks really fast too. So, throughout this talk, I will start with this diagram, except I'm gonna flip it upside down. I felt the journey has been more like climbing up the ladder, going up in the food chain instead of going down like that. And I won't be distinguishing between potential users or new users. Let's just talk about everyone's a user of Python. And in place of the leader, we have the BDFL. And in my opinion, the core team, they also become the leaders of the community. And I will talk about more of that later. But this is how I felt my journey has been. I started as a user. I used Python, and then I started getting involved in the community, going to conferences. I went to PyCon, I went to meetups, and then I started contributing to open source, and then eventually they gave me commit right, and I become the core team members. And I think that's where the journey ends. Like the BDFL, nobody will replace him. He'll be around forever. Forever. Now, back to the question. What is a Python core developer? Technically, it just means that you have the commit right to CPython. And currently, there are 89 people in this whole world, this programming language with 7 million users. There are 89 people with such commit right. It comes with certain nice perks. So I get to have this cool Python logo next to my name in the bug tracker. I get to come to the Python Language Summit, free admission, free lunch. And it happens every year at PyCon US. And I get to come to Python Core Sprint. And it seems to be happening annually. I really hope it just becomes an annual tradition. But it comes with certain responsibilities. Once you were granted commit right, you will be added to the Python core team on GitHub. And you will be responsible for 17 repositories. Obviously, the CPython, the dev guide, the PEPs, our workflow, performance, and all our GitHub bots. You'll be expected to subscribe and participate in various Python mailing lists. Python runs on mailing lists. So it means you'll get thousands of emails. I have thousands of emails. I receive thousands of emails. My inbox is full. I have to figure out what to do. So you're going to have to learn how to manage your emails. I've said that you'll be responsible. I talk about responsibilities. What I meant is that it's expected that you're going to have to review a lot of pull requests. Today, there are more than 600 still open. And you're going to have to make decisions, whether you want to accept those PRs or say no. And in the past year, core developers has closed more than 6,000 pull requests. That's a lot of work. And when you do accept the pull request, you gotta be prepared to face the consequence. I mean, if everything's fine, it was the right decision, usually nobody said anything. But if it was the wrong decision, that it actually break things, introduce bugs, the person who merged the pull request will have to take the blame. You will be responsible and follow up and try to fix things just because you merged it. So, it's a huge responsibility. And then you're going to be expected to help people to contribute to CPython because you know how to contribute, you know what you expect. And since you have the commit right to CPython, you get to make decisions, you get to tell people what goes into Python or not. You get to shape the language, decide how it's going to evolve. That's a huge responsibility. And that makes you the representative and leader of Python, the language, and the community. Yes, there's a BDFL. He makes a lot of big decisions, but he takes input from the core developers. He relies on us too, and he delegates many things to the core developers. Often he just say, I want this to happen, and core developers make it happen. So we're his helpers, we're his second in command, core developers are the leaders of this community. So now I've talked a lot about what being a core developer is. People still have lots of questions about it, so I'm going to answer them one by one. This is one of the most frequent questions I got. A new user or somebody I just met ask how they can be a core developer. But this is a really big question. It's difficult concept to explain to just a user. So I'm going to try to answer some really easy questions first. How can someone be more involved in the community? This is really easy because there are lots of ways to be involved. Anyone can take part. Just start locally, help out your local Python meetup. I run meetups. I know we're always looking for help. We're always looking for people to speak, give workshop, teach. So if you want to help out, reach out to your local meetup organizers. Tell them, I want to give a talk. I know a venue where you can host meetups. Help them out. And if there's no meetup, start one. If you don't like to do meetups, it's too much for you, that's fine. You can just write blogs about Python. Share to the world how you use Python. Write about your favorite library. Write a tutorial. Just spread the knowledge of Python to everyone. Volunteer at conferences. That's a good way to contribute back to the community, especially here at PyCon. PyCon conferences rely on volunteers. And whenever you're interacting with other members of the community, always be a good person. Be open, considerate, and respectful. Next question. How to contribute to open source? Lots of ways. Join the communication channels. Join their mailing list, IRC, Gitter, Slack. Just get to know other contributors, get to know the maintainers. Help by reporting issues, tell us how to reproduce bugs that you encounter, propose new ideas. Help with documentation. This is really important. Every project I've participated in really could use help in the documentation. Review pull requests. And again, you're interacting with other contributors. Always be open, be a good person, be considerate, and respectful. Now, usually after I answer all that, the next follow-up question is always, well, actually, I just want to contribute to code, not the documentation. Maybe I can start with documentation, but eventually I want to contribute to code. Tell me how. All right, I guess people really have this specific desire to contribute to code. Sure, if the goal is to contribute to code, you have to first read the contribution guide. Every large project has one. Every project has different guide, different workflow. You have to first read that, and then find an issue to work on, and then you have to learn how to use version control, like Git, and then create a pull request. And then the follow-up question to this is, okay, Mariatta, since you're a Python core developer, please be more specific and tell me how to contribute code to CPython. This is the biggest mystery. Everybody wants to know this. And I wanted to know this too. I asked the very same question to the BDFL 2 years ago. And so I'm just going to tell you what he told me. First, read the dev guide. It really has everything you need to know. The dev guide tells you how to get the source code, how to use Git, where our mailing lists are, how to run tests, how to compile everything. He said, here, this is the URL to the dev guide, read it. And then next he told me, join the core mentorship and Python dev mailing list. And if I ever have questions, just ask in the mailing list. He said, just tell them Guido sent you. Okay. Really, so the first few emails I wrote to the mailing list, it started with, hey, I asked Guido about this, and he told me to write to you. So here it is. Here's my question. Then he pointed me to the bug tracker. This is where you're supposed to find issues to work on. And then said, find an easy issue, create a patch at a time, pull request now. So these are what Guido told me. Simple, sounds like it. And he never really actually gave me any issues to work on. He never assigned anything to me because he didn't know what I was interested in. So that was something that I had to learn on my own. So I started subscribing to updates to the bug tracker, so I get email whenever there's new activities, and then I try to read some of them, find anything that interests me, and then start researching and figure out how to fix the bug. Now, at that time, people then start asking me, well, since you've been following the bug tracker, maybe you can find me an issue to work on. All right, give me some time, because in order to really find you an issue, I have to really watch the bug tracker, research some of the issues that I thought could be interesting to you, and then still ask you whether you're interested, and you might not actually want to be interested. So I think, I feel that this is finding an issue to work on is a skill you're going to have to acquire, to learn, and it's going to take time. So you shouldn't be relying on me or maintainers to assign you an issue. It just doesn't work like that. So perhaps people want to hear what I've been contributing, what are my open source contributions. For inspiration, for examples. Except I really don't think I've had many meaningful contributions. I fixed a lot of typos, really. This was one of my first contributions to open source, a one-word change. This is how I started. 2 years ago. I really fixed a lot of typos. I was reading a PEP, saw a typo, fix it. Really, the moral of the story is my contributions have been accidental. Like it wasn't intentional, it wasn't really a goal. I was learning, I read the docs, trying to learn how to use it, saw problems, and I fixed them. I contribute very little code to C Python, and that's something that seems like everybody expects core developers to be contributing code, a lot of code. Well, I don't. I write documentation. I write to Python developers guide. My GitHub bot write even more code than I have ever done to C Python. So if you use Python 3.6.4 or 3.6.5, you're likely using code generated by my GitHub bot. And I participate in mailing lists, help answer questions, and I like to review pull requests. I try to prioritize reviewing pull requests from first-time contributors because I want to be the one to congratulate you on your first pull request to C Python. So that's how I've been contributing. And there are lots of open source projects out there that really could use help. I just contribute to tools I use and love. I contribute to Koala. I made a contribution to Warehouse a couple months ago. I use GitHub and AIO HTTP for my bots, so I started contributing there too. Really, like, look at your requirements.txt file and think of contributing there. Don't be fixated in contributing just to CPython. There are a lot of open source projects. Now, once people start contributing to CPython, they all have the same questions. Please, when can you review my PR? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I haven't got around reviewing your PR. And let me share you some numbers. Since the migration to GitHub February 2017, we have more than 65,000 pull requests. We have closed a lot of them, like more. Today, I think we merged 50 to 100. The thing is, there's so many of you. There are so many people contributing, more than 800 in the last year. Even though there are close to 90 core developers, only half of them are still active in the last year. So we just don't have enough time to review everything, so I'm really, really sorry. But there are other reasons. In addition to not having enough time, sometimes it's just not my expertise. I don't think I should be reviewing it. I think it's something for other core developers to review. That's why I haven't reviewed it. Or maybe I know it sounds bad, I just didn't care. It's not my interest area, and I didn't ask for this change. You went ahead and created a PR anyway, so I'm sorry. And I know when I want to reject a PR, I'm supposed to explain to you why I'm rejecting it. But a lot of time, I have no good reason. I just don't want it. I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I find it easier to just abandon it and leave it to the next core developer to review than to actually say no to you. So again, I'm sorry. I'm also Canadian, so. And as I've mentioned earlier, accepting a PR comes with certain consequence, and I don't always want to accept such responsibilities. Again, sorry. Okay, let's go back to this really, really difficult question. How to become a Python core developer? This is big and it's hard. It involves multiple stages. But I've explained to you how to get involved in the community and how to start contributing. And I've explained what are the responsibilities of Python core developers. So, kind of broken those apart into smaller questions. This is a much smaller scope. How can a contributor to CPython become a Python core developer? Now, when we want to promote somebody to be a core developer, we have one really big question. Can we trust this person? You're going to be, when we give you commit right to CPython, you will be responsible for programming language used by 7 million people. And if you do aspire to be core developer, you'll need to earn our trust. And there is no other way for us to learn to trust you other than actually interacting with you. And these interactions can be in the form of you contributing, you're participating in mailing lists, you made pull requests, you review pull requests for us. The more you do those, the more we get to know you. The more we know you, the more we can learn whether to trust you or not. And then you're going to have to accept all the responsibilities. I've said that. And above all, we do need to know that you're a good person, that you'll be kind, be open, considerate, and respectful to other core developers and to other contributors. Now, a lot of people then ask me, well, how did you do all this? How did you earn the trust? How did you become a core developer? I really don't know. Don't ask me. I really don't know. This is a question you need to ask to other core developers before me. I really just feel lucky. So ask Guido, ask Nick, ask Brad, Raymond. They know why they trust me. I don't. I really just feel lucky. How much time I spend contributing? Way too much time than I'm willing to admit. So I've realized I've spent too much time in open source. So in the past 2 months, I've taken a break. So I'm not contributing until the end of the month, and except for the days when I'm at PyCon and at the sprint. Way too much time. So this people do ask me this, and it always feels like a trick question. I got asked this couple days ago here at this conference. I got asked when I was at PyCon Italia. I was asked when I was at PyCon Australia. People around the world are curious. No, I don't. I don't get paid to contribute to Python. My salary is 0. And as a core developer, I don't receive salary. Very few core developers are getting paid. Some core developers got paid to contribute, but not full time. They still put in a lot of personal time into Python. Another big mystery, how do I balance all of this? I don't know. I don't know. I do not have balance. I forget a lot of things. I keep forgetting to take my vitamins. I run late to appointments and I double book appointments. I don't have things, I don't have my life all balanced. I don't know. Oh, thought I was done with the big questions. But I ask this question every day. Some core devs has asked me the same question. The BDFL asked me this question. How can we get more women to contribute to open source? Let me first share some numbers. Python has 7 million users, and I'm pretty sure it's a very diverse set of users. And our community is diverse. I see a lot, even here at PyCon, I see many women participating. I see lots of people of color. I see disabled people. I see transgender people. I see diversity in this conference, and I think we've done a great job at that. So now let's look at the contributors to CPython. I've told you we have more than 800 contributors in the last year. Out of all those 800, less than 10 were women. No, 10%, 10 individuals. We have 89 core developers. Only 2 women. I let the shock wears off. Because this is real, but this is also wrong. This is not the right representation of our community. this is not leadership qualities. You should not try to achieve this. You should try to avoid this kind of statistics in your own organization. This is a problem, and I'm putting this out there so that you can see what I've been seeing in the last year. I see a gap, a really huge gap, and I don't know what to do about it. I need help. I really don't know what I need to do. So, people have been asking me, I ask this to myself, how to get more women contributing, and I really don't know. If people know of another large open source project with 7 million users that is doing good with diversity, tell me about it so I can learn, 'cause I don't know. And I care so much about this. I tried to get professional advice. I asked Sage Sharp, and I've explained to them this situation, and I asked if they have any advice. And what can I, a Python core developer, do to improve the diversity in the community? So they gave me some advice. They said, I need to identify the problems. And they also told me that it's not something I can do on my own. I'm going to need all the core devs to participate and work on improving. Identifying problems. I really had to ask myself, like, what are their barriers? What are the barriers that applies only to women that somehow 800 men were able to contribute to CPython and only so few women? There are lots of problems. And for me personally, I face the same barriers. I'm not gonna say all of them here, but one of the barriers was I didn't have any role models. I didn't see anyone who looked like me participating in open source. For a long time, I believed it's just, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe it's just not a place for people like me. And it was a huge barrier that I had to overcome. And I just feel so lucky that there are members of this community, that the BDFL Guido and Python core developers have always been there for me, supporting me, helping me throughout this journey. I just feel lucky, so thank you, all of you. But we have to do better, and the core developers do want to do better. They've acknowledged that there is still diversity problem in our community. And during the language summit a few days ago, I've told the core developers that they need to take part. I've told them that going forward, they're going to have to do at least one of the following. They're gonna have to provide mentorship, prioritizing women and the underrepresented group members. They could try to set up office hours, AMA sessions, one-on-ones, and I've made them understand that public forums like mailing lists aren't always the safe space for women and minorities to ask questions. So I've told them they're going to have to be available to answer questions in private. So, and the core developers have been very receptive. They are all on board, and we are all working harder to try to be more welcoming to women and minorities. Still, I asked Sage, is there anything more I could have done to help improve? I mean, I've always been available privately. My DM is always open. Sage suggested that maybe I could start sharing more of my experiences. I thought I have, but she said it, they said it could inspire, maybe it could inspire other women. Um, I don't know, I don't think I've done anything spectacular. I fixed typos. But if sharing my stories can help, then I will try. So, well, my name is Mariatta. I like F strings, and you really, really want to hear my stories, you have to follow me on Twitter. That's where I will be sharing my stories. If you want to reach out privately, that's my email. And when I have really, really long stories, I might just post them on my website. That is all. Thank you so much for listening.